My name is Namat Sobhani, and I've been converted into the alternative medicine and natural nutrition business by people who were using them. I joined my brothers mainly to help them computerize the business. And while I was there, people assumed that I knew something about natural products, and they would come and ask me, and I didn't know anything. So I was constantly on the phone with my brother saying, where's this, what's this? But I found out very quickly that I had to ask the customers why they were buying what they were buying. And they started to educate me. And I saw some really amazing stories. People who had nothing to gain by lying. These are people living here in Halifax who would come in, for example, looking for vitamin C, and they would buy the largest bottle we had, or they would look for an herbal tea blend called Fluorescence, and they would buy like 3 or 6 boxes of this. So I would ask, why are you taking this? And one lady in particular said, well, I had breast cancer. I said, you had breast cancer? She said, yes. And she said, it's gone. I said, so you did surgery? She said, no surgery. I said, chemo, radiation? She said, no. And I said, it's gone. She said, yeah. I said, really? So here I am in a health food store challenging my customer, saying, really? Like this, you got rid of breast cancer without chemo or radiation or surgery? She said, yeah. And then she saw that I didn't believe her. She said, look, if it wasn't on my breast, I will show you the scar tissue. It was there. It's gone. And I said, how did you do it? She said, just these 2 things, vitamin C and this Ojibwe tea blend called Fluorescence. And I said, you just took these 2 and it went away? She said, yes, and modified my diet and got rid of some things that are hard to digest. I got rid of a lot of animal products. I'm not completely vegetarian, but I don't eat as much meat. I eat a lot of raw foods and these 2 things. So I got story after story. There was another guy who came in and he asked for a product called Simmons Super Mix. So I showed it to him and I said, why do you take this? I said, you seem to know what it is, And so he said, yeah. He said, I had, and he told me the name of the cancer, and I can't remember what it was, but it has something to do with the lungs. And he said, it's gone with this. And he said, there are 2 people I know who have had this cancer who are alive. He says, myself and another guy here in Halifax, and both of us take this thing. That's the only thing we have in common. He said, I know a lot of other people who have this cancer. They have all passed away. And I said, just because of this? He said, yes, this is it. So he started to tell me a little bit about alkalizing. That's the first time I'd heard about it. So it took a long time before I started to really read up on alkalizing. And I saw the connection between acidity and cancer is nothing new. The guy who figured out the connection between a high acid body and cancer figured it out back in 1927. This is not new information. It's not like some guy sitting in a health food store 10 years ago came up with this. A medical doctor back in 1927 figured it out. By 1935 or so, he got the Nobel Prize for his work on the connection between acidity and cancer. So this is old information. It should be in every doctor's office. It should be right on the wall. They should have a list of things that make you acidic, a list of things that make you alkaline, and everybody who walks into a doctor's office must be given this. Here's a poster, here's a pamphlet, go home and fix your life. And if you really need it, here's some medication as well. It doesn't matter what the disease is. If your body is high acid, you are contributing to the disease. The moment you bring back that balance and you lean a little bit sort of the other way from water, sort of the alkalinity, you're a little bit alkaline, you will find that a lot of diseases will just disappear. What I've seen people describe cancer as is that cancer is like a mold that loves a low oxygen environment. Sort of, and the way that mold grows in your basement, and you go in and you see the mold, what do? You open the windows, you air it out. Oxygen prevents the mold from growing, and of course you're drying it as well. It's a damp environment. Cancer loves that kind of environment inside our bodies. And a high acid environment makes for a low oxygen environment. An alkaline body is high oxygen. One of the sort of the biggest drugs that you could ever prescribe anybody is water. If water wasn't so essential, it would be in pills and it would have a DIN number on it. Because water not only has a detoxifying effect, but water actually alkalizes you. So here it is a neutral liquid actually makes you alkaline because it delivers so much oxygen to you. So that's another thing that most people have never sort of thought about. It's something that is becoming now talked about, but 10 years ago when we were talking about creating a balance, people were sort of either had never heard about it, or people would actually sort of challenge us. Maybe they thought they would smirk at us, thinking that we were sort of talking hocus pocus or some kind of a snake oil. But I don't make money from selling water. Water is something you have access to. Just drink lots of it and drink it on a regular basis. There is a way to drink water as well. A friend of ours was diagnosed with cancer, and she had breast cancer. She was treated conventionally. A little while later, it came back, and then she was told that this is metastasized. There's nothing they can do, and basically sent her home to make her peace with the world and prepare. She read about water, so she got up at like 4 a.m., boiling the water, making sure that the water was clean and pure, and so on. She lives in Africa. So she started to do this water treatment where every morning she would drink 1.5 liters of water within about a 10-minute period. So that's a lot of water going into your system, 1.5 liters within about 10 minutes. So what it does is it goes in like a flush and it cleans you out. In the meantime, that water is also absorbed into your bloodstream, and it circulates through all of your cells and all of the metabolites from the night of assimilation and digestion and so on. All of those metabolites are sucked in with the water. They go through your kidneys and you pee it out and it's gone. So you're helping detoxify in the morning, but you're also cleaning out your digestive tract with that amount of water. So she started doing this, and she didn't do any other changes. And that was about 8 years ago. She's still around. Recently, I saw photos of her on Facebook with a family trip, going through a safari in Africa, in South Africa. So she's around and doing well. The other thing with the acid and alkaline thing, and this applies to everybody. I know that pancreatic cancer has such a high mortality rate, and what I say may not be specifically relevant to pancreatic cancer. Maybe, I'm not sure, but once you have pancreatic cancer, you may already have sort of been told that you have no hope. It's basically your body gives up. Psychologically you give up. So what I'm saying is maybe there is hope, and then maybe your mind can play some tricks on you, and maybe you will find a way to beat it. I'm not sure. We never promise any magic cures to anybody. There are always exceptions, and I hate to be the person that says something and then the whole family, comes back and says, "But you said." No, we don't want to do that. This is a very serious thing. It is life and death, we realize, but we also say that there are ways of preventing it. There are ways of treating cancer, and there are ways of living gracefully towards dying without or while you are able to keep your body functioning. You're able to have your dignity, so to speak, and you can do that if you knew a little bit more about nutritional things that give you energy. They keep your muscles functioning, they keep your mind functioning, they control pain, and you can do that. You really can, and you don't have to be completely dependent on the things that the chemotherapy, radiation, and narcotics. They're not the only solutions. So there's so many things to come at to talk about. Maybe you can ask me something, and I can sort of take it based on your interest in that direction. We can either talk about foods that make you alkaline. Maybe I can give you a list of foods that make you alkaline.
Can you remember the name of the doctor? You said a doctor discovered this in the 20s?
Yes.
Do you remember his name?
No, but I have needed to find his name a couple of times, and a very quick Google, I found it. So I can't remember it again,
Okay.
but I'm sure, if we just do
The theory is
the acid, sort of a high acid environment leading to cancer, or the connection between acidity and cancer.
On that will bring
That's
up-
right, yeah.
What foods would cause acidity?
The foods that cause acidity are animal fats and proteins. So basically all animal sourced foods make you more acidic. Refined carbohydrates, so sugar that is not in its natural form anymore. If you bite an apple, you get a lot of sugar, but that apple does not make you acidic. But if you were to extract that sugar from the apple and forget about all the other things that are in the apple, so the enzymes and the minerals and the fiber and the pectin and all of that stuff, and you just focus on and just consume that sugar, now you're dealing with something that will make you acidic. So refined sugars, refined carbohydrates, most grains will make you acidic. Those are the things. So not all starches will make you acidic. Again, the what they call the more complex carbohydrates, or the high fiber carbohydrates, are the ones that will not make you acidic, or less likely to, or they would be neutral. But the things that will make you acidic are processed foods, pretty much of all sorts. Pop is one of the biggest culprits. So carbonated beverages with phosphoric acid already in them and a ton of sugar. So a can of Coke is about 12 spoons of sugar in a can of Coke, and on top of it there's high fructose corn syrup and everything else, right? So things that really mess around with your insulin receptors. So those things will make you acidic. Things that make you alkaline, all minerals make you alkaline. All so calcium, magnesium, trace minerals you can get. The stuff that you would need from that you would get from seaweeds, all of these things will make you alkaline. Water makes you alkaline. Fresh fruits make you alkaline. Something acidic like lemons and limes will make you alkaline. And those would be your basic ones. Breathing makes you alkaline. So if you get into exercise, moderate exercise, where you're increasing your oxygen intake, that makes you alkaline. Those would be the most sort of common things that you would look at.
Is there a way to measure that?
There are test strips. There is a pH test strips that you can use on your saliva that usually shows whether your saliva is alkaline or acidic. So those are available, yeah.
Is that becoming a little bit more mainstream? Because in the last year, I would say, I've heard more reference to this.
Yes. It is becoming more talked about and a little bit more acknowledged. I'm not sure if it is still comfortably embraced by the medical community, but there is more of an acceptance of the concept. Green drinks, chlorophyll-rich drinks make you alkaline. So anything, because chlorophyll is the major oxygen carrier. People who are on a vegetarian diet, they generally consume blue-green algae, spirulina, which gives you a lot of protein. Like 55% of spirulina is protein. And the blue color comes from vitamin B12. Usually B12 is supposedly not available to vegetarians, so unless you eat meat, but spirulina has B12, actually more B12 than liver by gram. And it has more beta carotene than carrots. And lots of protein, so 55% protein. Animal protein, like a lean steak, is about 21% protein. So, your chances are a lot better the other way. The other thing that with cancer, or something that your body needs, like especially doing a lot of research on the way that the pancreas functions and the connection with pancreas and diabetes. People who are on a raw food diet, they find that their diabetes actually reverses. And there are now studies done in the US where they put people with type 1 and type 2 diabetes, they put them on a raw vegan diet for 1 month, and all of them went off of insulin. One person went to a fifth of insulin, the others completely off of insulin. And diabetes does not have a cure, technically. Like in Canada, I'm not allowed to say there's a cure for diabetes. These are Schedule A diseases. Cancer is a Schedule A disease. There is no cure for cancer. So anybody who says that this thing will cure cancer, they can go to jail for saying so. So that's why we never say that there is a cure for cancer, but we can tell you that there are things that will help you either prevent it. There is a lot of studies that shows that if you were to take very small amounts of things like vitamin A, C, E, and selenium, that if you just took those, that your chances of getting cancer drop by as much as 20%, which is a huge number. In pharmaceutical studies, usually what 0.5% is significant. So we're looking at like over 20%. Green tea consumption at sort of not very hot temperatures reduces cancer of the esophagus by a massive amount. So we know that there are things that really help you. Antioxidants and balance of your alkalinity. The other one is enzymes. I had no idea how important enzymes were for cancer until I went to the library and I just sat down and I was occupying myself with a book in the junior, what's it called, the young adult section of the library on immune system. I just picked it up and it had a lot of photographs. And there's a photograph of a cancer cell, a electron microscope photograph. And there is a photograph of an immune system cell called a macrophage. And it's beside it, the cancer cell is here. In the next photograph, the immune system cell is partially over the cancer cell. In the next photograph, it's right over it. And then in the next photograph, the bump is gone. And in the next photograph, all you see is shredded pieces of cancer cell. Cancer, like broken down pieces. And the description said that this thing, it uses enzymes to eat basically the cancer cell and tear it up into little pieces and spit it out. Then it went on to say that this is the most primitive immune system cell that we have in our bodies. We also have more modern cells, they're sort of maybe not as many millions of years old, called the T cells and the natural killer cells and so on. And these ones, they're a little bit more sophisticated. They don't necessarily sit down and eat the cancer cell, but what they do is they squirt an enzyme at the intruder. They get a response back, sort of like a sonar, so to speak. They get a response back, and then based on that, they squirt another enzyme that will kill or disable the intruder. It's all done with enzymes. Where do you get enzymes? Enzymes come from food. Does food that has been cooked have enzymes? No. Right there, you will see your entire medical establishment must change based on that knowledge. But it isn't. So we are still not talking about food. We're just, sort of assuming that there is a tube that goes from here to there, and that's just for fun. We just eat for fun, and whatever happens to the body is, just happens, and then for that we have drugs. There is a place for drugs, but food must be considered first. And what did Hippocrates say? He said, let food be thy medicine and let medicine be thy food, right? This is the father of medicine. And are we talking about food? Are we teaching about food in the medical school? So that's where we need to really be making some changes, where medical doctors need to really study about food, and really about food, not the Canada Food Guide. We don't. Canada Food Guide is not a good food guide. I'm on record as saying that. So enzymes come from living foods. Your body doesn't produce its enzymes the way it used to. I think we peak at about 5 years old. So after that, it's downhill. Like by the time you're in your 20s, your enzymes are dwindling. I think I remember during my university days, at like 1 a.m., ordering a large pizza with the works, and me and my friends sitting down and eating the entire pizza, and staying up all night and doing mathematics. And the pizza didn't affect us at all. At 30, one slice of that pizza, doesn't matter what time of day, puts me to sleep because I just don't have the enzymes to digest it anymore, right? So as we get older, the food that you had no problem breaking down, you can't break it down anymore. What does that do? It ferments in your gut. It creates a hostile environment for you, but it creates a very friendly environment for disease. And if you look at all the autoimmune disorders, diabetes, cancer, rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, all of these, they're all connected at a very basic level. Heart disease, all of them are connected in a very basic level. If you were to increase your raw foods and basically get rid of the acidity of your body, you'll find an alleviation of symptoms in all of them. You'll find, and I had a customer come in, and he was buying one of these green drinks. That brand name doesn't exist anymore, but it's basically a combination of the juice of wheatgrass and barley grass and so on. He said that he used to be on an oxygen tank almost all the time because of emphysema. When he started taking the green drink, his need for the oxygen tank disappeared. He has the oxygen tank. Once in a while, he connects himself to it just to top it up, but he doesn't need it anymore. So just the chlorophyll is bringing enough oxygen that he doesn't need to be on an oxygen tank, even with emphysema. So you see the connection. So everything goes back to these few things. So a customer comes in and says, I'm healthy, I live well, I eat well, I want to make sure I'm not missing something. What do you give me? And usually we recommend them four things. We recommend that they take hemp seed oil or another oil that has all the essential fats in the right ratio. Hemp seed oil gives you omega-3, omega-6, 7, 9, gamma-linoleic acid. Everything is there in just the right ratio for the human body. Most foods don't have all the right fats in them. Most of them, when they did, they have been either processed out of them or you cook them to a point where they become saturated fats or they become hydrogenated and so on. So they lose their benefits. So we recommend that. The other one is trace minerals. You're not getting your trace minerals. The farmer doesn't put minerals in the field. All they put is nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. And after about 60, 70 years of farming, that soil really doesn't have much to give anymore. So yes, it is a broccoli, but is it the same broccoli as 50 years ago? Does the soil have what it takes? Is the farmer bringing in seaweeds and shredding it and putting it in? Is he composting? If he isn't, and if he's just putting chemicals, then chances are that broccoli isn't really nutritious anymore. Yes, it's good, better than not eating it, but now you're slowly becoming deficient in your trace minerals. So there's a company that actually takes minerals from Lake Utah. They take the sodium out and they give it to you in a concentrated drop. And you get a little bottle of it and you put about 20 drops in your drinking water. You can actually see the minerals sort of sink to the bottom. It makes the water all wavy. So you drink this thing and you know that it absorbs in your body, because people who, like myself, who get jumpy legs in the evening, I have a hard time sleeping. It keeps my wife awake because my leg jumps and shakes the bed. I take these minerals and my legs don't jump anymore. So I know that the minerals are absorbing in my body. But those minerals also make you alkaline, and the 60 or 70 minerals that our body has, on average, each of them is connected to about 10 diseases or preventing 10 diseases. So you know that, you don't know which one it's going to cause in your body, but if you have your minerals, you are protecting yourself from all of these potential problems. The third thing that we recommend to them is a green drink. So I've already talked about green drinks. Green drinks are, you get various combinations. Barley green was just barley grass juice in a powder form. One company makes that. And you get, for example, a company called Natural Factors makes a green mix, enriching greens. And then there is the Simmons or Simons Super Mix is another one. There's a bunch of them. And you can basically, you take a tablespoon of this. You start out with 1 teaspoon, and then you can build up to 3 teaspoons, so 1 tablespoon. And the reason we say start low is because when you first start it, it has the effect of detoxifying you, and you want to build it up slowly so that you don't have the discomfort just in case. Let's say if you were around a lot of toxins or smoking or, painter with a lot of paint fumes around you or whatever, you might have a lot of things that will rush out of your body. So you start off with that. Within 2 weeks, you're up to a tablespoon a day. And so that cleans you out. So greens, the trace minerals, the good oils, and the fourth one would be a good multivitamin. The multivitamin generally is to make sure you're not missing out on some things. And that covers most of it. Then if you come in and you say, well, I have this specific problem, then we'll look at it and say, okay, let's deal with that. But so that up to here, I don't know if you wanted to ask any questions or if you wanted to take me a different path, because we can go back to diabetes, we can go back to the pancreas a little bit. But you know more about the pancreas than I do, than I would ever learn. And you know more about pancreatic cancer than I will ever know. But I can talk about the food aspects of it in any way that you like.
So are you saying that cooking greens, they're not as healthy, like
That's right.
collard greens and spinach and all these things? If we cook them, it's not
Cook
good?
them. No, there's certain greens that they say that they actually need to be steamed a little bit. Dry cooking is not good. But steaming spinach, the steaming action actually helps release the nutrients better. But overcooking it is not
I
good.
like them all cooked.
That's right. Well, there's a level of cooking, right? If, for example, broccoli, what we do is we put it in a steamer, and when we bite into it, it still has a crunch, but the color has just begun to change. I don't know if you've noticed that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we have it like that, and we don't put butter on it. We just put freshly squeezed lemon or lime and a sprinkle of sea salt, unrefined salt on it. And the taste is heavenly. And if you really wanted that oily feeling, you can put a little bit of hemp seed oil or something on it. And it makes it taste good and it gives you your oils. And at that temperature, once, after you finish the cooking, the oil won't get hurt, won't be damaged by that amount of temperature. So certain things,
How
yeah.
long would you typically steam it for?
I've never timed it, but it's one of those, we bring the water to a boil, then we put the beans, like either the string beans or the broccoli, we put it on. I don't think it's ever more than 5 minutes. It's around that much, depending on how much we're putting in.
It's still
Yeah.
a little bit burnt.
Yeah.
Yes,
Like
one of the quickest,
Yeah.
vegetables to steam.
Like the fiber in broccoli is very hard to digest if you eat it raw. But when you steam it like that, it becomes easier to digest. There's a guy I was listening to, he says, eat your greens for detox and your fruits for energy. So he said, yeah. He said, if you can remember that, he says, then you're good. You don't have to come to my YouTube channel anymore. This is a guy, he's a raw vegan guy, he's crazy. But, he just, and I really encourage you to do some searches online for raw foods, raw juicing. Those would be your search terms. The other one would be raw vegan and diabetes, raw vegan and pancreas. If you do these searches, you will come up with a lot of very good, solid information on YouTube. Some of them are very entertaining to watch as well as educational.
Okay, so the not overly steamed vegetable, to go back to that,
Yes,
fits within your raw?
I personally go that far. And I'm not myself a raw person or a vegan person. I am sort of moving in that direction, but I also believe that any change you make must be sustainable. If you make a huge change, if you're in a serious situation where you have to make a drastic change, I will make it, and I've done it. But when you're just, there is no pressure of a big sort of disease like cancer or diabetes on you at the time, then I don't know if you need to make that sudden change. If you can, and you're one of those people who can make the change and make it stick, great, do it. But most people, especially, living in Nova Scotia, far from, access to fresh fruits all the time, it makes sense to make the changes in a way that is sustainable, and it becomes a part of your habit over time, as opposed to making a sudden change and then not being able to do, oh, it's too hard, and once you give up, then it's very hard to come back to it again.
So the enzymes will survive some steaming.
That steaming, I believe, there is a temp. Freezing actually is one of the better ways to eat a lot of fruits that come from afar. So if you get, for example, strawberries that were frozen at source, it is actually better than buying strawberries that were picked raw or unripe and then given time to come to you, so about 5 days. So it's this way, because during that ripening process, those last day or so, there's a ton of nutrients that go into the fruit when we pick them, from the plant. But when you pick them early in order for them to transport, you are depriving the fruit from building those nutrients,
You had said that grains had acidity. I think they were on the list of foods with acidity.
Greens?
Grain.
Grains, yeah. So certain grains, especially because we can't eat these grains raw. Generally, we have to cook them.
Right.
So that's one of the reasons. But grains in general, you will find most people who get off of grains, they start to look very healthy.
Feel better.
Yeah. Doesn't matter what the problem is. Whether
How do dried beans and lentils fit into this?
beans and lentils, I like them, but most people I know can't digest them. People eat them because it makes you feel full. It makes you, you get up from the table and you feel, okay, I have eaten. But with beans, chickpeas, lentils, all of these things, if you sprout them, the moment you see about that, like half a centimeter long shoot coming out of the bean or the lentil or the chickpea or whatever, at that point, this thing is like the cure for all disease. The enzymes, it is rich in enzymes. It does not need cooking. When it's sprouted, you can eat it as is. I really encourage you to give it a try.
A little bit?
You don't need to steam it then. Because at that point, it does not need steaming. You just put it in a bowl, grate garlic over it, put some olive oil on it, and sprinkle we always go with either Himalayan salt or the French salt, the gray salt. Sprinkle a little bit of salt on that, and you've got yourself a delicious salad.
How do you get them to sprout? You soak them in water?
Yeah, you soak them in water, change the water roughly once every 8 hours or so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the ordinary dried variety of beans at the bulk barn store, will they sprout?
Depends. Give them a shot. If they are irradiated, they're supposed to not sprout. So there is a way to get them, generally in the health food store, you should be able to get chickpeas and beans and so on that will sprout. And you can sprout wheat. It is delicious when it's sprouted. You can eat it, wheat and the green and everything. Or you can let it grow this tall and then you cut it with scissors and put it through a juicer. One of those auger juicers, otherwise it'll jam up your juicer. But wheat is an amazing, wheatgrass is an amazing nutrient. It has so much chlorophyll. It's one of the most alkalizing things that you can have, the wheatgrass. So yes, eat the wheat, but the wheatgrass, or sprout it and eat it. Don't cook it, don't turn it into bread. So the enzymes would be very rich in enzymes at that point, yeah.
So you really totally avoid bread, noodles?
I don't eat bread.
Everything.
I try to eat rice, but I find that it is not too different from bread. The starch is very starchy, and it is. I find that the grains have all become hybridized to a point where there is, not everybody's able to digest them. I grew up with rice. I used to eat rice like this, and I used to also be like this. And I stopped eating wheat, and I noticed that my bloating went away. Then I cut out rice, And I found that the leftover bloating that I was getting, that also disappeared. I thought rice was hypoallergenic, but for me it wasn't. So there are people who can still handle rice. I don't have as strong an opinion against rice, but wheat is a very tough one for most people. Yeah.
What about potatoes?
I love potatoes. I love them baked. And again, you're looking at a cooked food. So once you go into raw foods, then you have to find other things to eat. So you'll be looking at kale and fruits and all of these, actually carrots, parsley. In the juicer you put a bundle of parsley and a bunch of carrots and a couple of apples. You've got yourself this absolutely delicious, life-giving juice. So you can start to experiment. You and the farmer's market and or Pete's Fruitig will become, great buddies. He'll be very happy to have you there all the time because you'll be going through this much vegetables on a daily basis. But you'll find yourself, you'll be reversing so many ailments that you never knew you had. You'll be so much full of energy. Like there's a lot of fatigue that people have disappears. And it's, you just have to try it. Just give it a shot.
So, do you have no meat or just minimize the animal product?
I don't give harsh anything against meat, but I find that in our family with 5 people we could do with about this much meat. It gives us the flavor. There's a few of us who like. One of my children doesn't like meat at all, doesn't eat meat at all. One of them eats it occasionally, but generally doesn't. And so that leaves 3 of us. And between the 3 of us, we would go through about this much meat once every maybe week. And that's, we slice it and stir fry it, and then, you put the steamed vegetables, mix it all up, and you bring it to the table. So you feel like you had something. But, if I eat a steak like this, then I have to have a salad this big to go with it, just to help me break it down and digest it. But if you have the steak, no salad, and have a potato with it, you've got yourself 3 days of indigestion. You've got meat that requires certain type of digestive juices, and the potato that requires the opposite almost. And the 2 of these are sitting in your stomach for about 3 days in a warm, dark, humid environment, rotting.
What about eggs? What's your opinion?
I like eggs, but I'm beginning to see a lot more and more people, researchers are saying cut out eggs. They're saying there's certain things in it, and it's kind of distressing for me because I like it. But I'm beginning to see some of these people who are sort of groundbreaking researchers on health and nutrition, and they're beginning to take eggs out of this sort of the equation as well. And I'm not sure if eggs, in a small farm, with a few chickens, would have the same problems with eggs that come from a farm that has 1 million chickens. I'm not sure. So I'm sure that makes a huge difference. Yeah. Same thing with fish. Moderation. I personally have always recommended moderation in all things.
But do you think the acidifying impact is the same with meat and fish?
I personally, I don't have any science behind it, but I don't think it is as bad as red meat. And again, if it isn't your main dish, you can get away with tiny amounts. If you live a moderate life and you are really loading up heavy on fresh fruits and fresh vegetables, then you can actually enjoy these other things. And people come and they say, I talk about coffee being bad for you, and people say, I don't put any cream in it, or they say I take it decaf, and I'm always puzzled. I say, my dear, enjoy your poison, have the real coffee and put real cream in it, but don't have it all the time. So if you're going to have something that is bad for you, enjoy it. Go all out and do it nicely, as opposed to getting decaf, So.
And why is coffee not good for you?
Coffee is very acidifying. And if you wanted a hot drink and you want caffeine, tea, the only thing tea shares with coffee is caffeine. And if you were to consider caffeine as being a bad thing, caffeine in tea would be the bottom, and everything else would build up from there. So everything in tea, 190 identified phytochemicals in tea, all of them are good for you. They're all antioxidants in one way or another. And the worst thing in tea would be the tannic acid. And if you prepare tea right, you won't get the tannic acid into your body because, so basically if you don't prepare it by, like the way that people do in Newfoundland or Cape Breton where they boil it, then you're fine. You should never boil tea. And if you do it right, then you won't get the tannic acid. And if you take tea made that is with the large leaf as opposed to tea bag, that also makes a difference. The tea bag is broken down tea leaves, and it's a lot of surface area exposed. So there's a lot of oxidation that happens before it gets to you. And also because it's all broken down, a lot of caffeine comes into your drink. But if you take the large leaf ones, then there's a lot less surface area. There's a lot of flavor comes into your drink, but very little caffeine comes out, and very little tannic acid, if any, comes out. So tea is the drink I would go with. If you want to have coffee, then have organic coffee that at least those 600 man-made chemicals aren't in it. So at least you can cut those out.
That's what we drink.
We drink
Yeah.
organic
Yeah.
coffee, but we should be switching. Let's try to switch to tea, shall we?
Let's do that tomorrow, Jerry.
I'm a tea drinker. I grew up with tea plantation owners' kids as my classmates. I've been to a lot of tea plantations, and there is something so wonderful about tea. I've been to a lot of tea factories, and I've seen how the tea is picked, how it's processed, how it is fermented, all of that. Tea is the drink to go with. And if you wanted something that has even more caffeine than tea, then you drink yerba mate. Yerba mate is a weed, basically. It's an herb. It's a bush that comes from South America, from Argentina, Brazil, and so on. And it kind of looks like hay, a little bit, but it's they're little small sort of needle-like pieces, and it has a very earthy flavor to it. It is loaded with caffeine, but the caffeine doesn't make you jittery for some reason. Coffee, and that much caffeine from coffee makes you jittery, but yerba mate doesn't. Gives you a lot, it shares a lot of the antioxidants that tea has, and it has a lot more caffeine, but you don't suffer the jitteriness. So there are things out there that'll give you, and you can go to rooibos. So people who ask for decaf tea, I always try to encourage them to, don't do that to your body. Just drink rooibos. Why would you decaffeinate tea and take all the flavor out of it? Just go with rooibos. It's got more flavor than decaffeinated tea. And rooibos comes from South Africa. It is, again, loaded with antioxidants. It's safe for babies. Women, they wean babies off of breast milk with giving them sweetened rooibos tea in a bottle. So it's safe. Yeah. So that we can go into tea. You choose which direction you want to go. We can take it there.
That's fascinating.
There's so much, and I'm afraid of overloading people, so I don't want to sort of do a full empty in my head.
pH changes.
Yeah.
What exactly, what would the numbers be?
I believe 7 is neutral, right?
Yeah.
So, and 6 is acidic, and 7.5 would be alkaline. So if you went, I believe it is like 7.4 or something that is supposed to be the ideal. Yeah.
I'm just wondering what's the, when you say people can measure it
Mhm.
and that the diet can
Push.
shift,
Yeah.
like how big are these shifts? What are you talking about?
Well, I've seen people whose acidity seems to be very high. We're talking, I'm not sure how accurate these test strips are, but it shows them to be in
Saliva test.
the saliva test, yeah. And you can get these pH papers that you can test, and it seems to be a lot of times it is in the around 6 for a lot of people, which is
So
yeah.
you don't eat or drink for a certain amount of time before the test, obviously.
I believe it should be on an empty, it should be on a fasting because you don't want to have that effect of, yeah,
Because if you just had a fresh
Yeah.
lemon,
That's right. it probably would show up.
Yeah.
That's right. But if your mouth was washed and clear, then the lemon shouldn't be affecting it then. But I've seen a lot of people be very acidic, and I'm usually on the other side. I'm usually quite north of 7.
Where do you get the strips for starting?
Well, we sell them at Supernatural. They come in a roll, and actually there's a booklet now that has sort of information on it, as well as has strips in it, 100 strips in it for like $13 or $12 or something like that. Yeah. But that's worth looking at.
I like what Stephanie said
Yeah.
in the introduction,
Yeah.
that she sent out in the email,
Mhm.
in that, we're talking about, how you can help, with your cancer, but you also make mention of the importance of the caregivers
Mhm.
that are getting run down.
Yes.
The importance of them.
With stress and so on, yeah. Well, the caregivers, in the case of people who I know, they seem to be going all out with their entire focus being on the person they're looking after, and they often neglect themselves completely. And then either when the other person that they're looking after is healed or passes away, in either case, that's when the caregivers become sick. Because then they allow themselves to relax, or so that heightened sense of sort of control over their bodies is gone, and the moment they let their guard down, they get sick really badly. And that's, you don't want them to become like that. And sometimes, they may become sick while they are caregivers, and you don't want that either. You want them to be healthy and strong for two people at that time. So those there are things that really strengthen your adrenal system. Have you heard of adaptogens? The word it comes from the word adapt. There are certain plants that grow in really harsh environments, and the theory is that these plants produce phytonutrients to help them cope with the harsh environment. So you get plants growing in Siberia or on the rocky shores of Newfoundland. And so these things, they have berries or leaves that can survive these really tough conditions or sudden changes in temperature. They can survive these things. Those chemicals in some of these plants have been found to actually help humans also cope with stressful situations. They strengthen your adrenals. They give you energy without making you hyper. One of those plants is rhodiola, and the other one is relora. There is an Indian herb called ashwagandha, which is sort of termed the Indian ginseng. It's not ginseng at all, but it gives you a lot of energy. These things, all of them, they have the ability to calm you and to give you energy. So what I would call a Zen energy, where you get into the zone like a hockey player, like David. What's his name? Gretzky. What's his first name? Wayne. Everybody's gonna. I know his name, but I just anyway. So he said that he would get into the zone, and everybody around him would be moving in slow motion. Right? This, and that's, you can do that with meditation. You can also do that with certain herbs that strengthen and tone your adrenal glands. So you become you're able to talk to people, you're able to solve problems without being stressed out. And there is a combination called Ortho Adapt, O-R-T-H-O Adapt. It's by a Canadian company called AOR. It's a big name, but AOR is the acronym. And that has a bunch of these herbs in it. In a very stressful time, I took it without even looking at the ingredients, because I just knew it was an adaptogen. I just took it. And it helped me go through a very stressful situation of everything going wrong that could possibly go wrong. Not sleeping well, getting bad news from contractors, and a whole bunch of other things happening all at once. And one of the staff said, "You're taking this day really well. And anybody else would be pulling their hair out." And I thought back, and I thought, yeah, about 2 hours earlier, I had taken some of these for the first time. And it had just calmed me down, and I was just totally good with what was going on, and I was able to function. So after that, I started taking it more regularly, and I became a real convert to this particular product. And since then, I've had the same feedback from dozens of people who have taken it, and they say it helps them deal with all kinds of stressful situations. So people who were on drugs, and now they're taking this, and they're able to get the same results with a lot less of their medication. Some of them have cut it out completely. So there are some really good things out there. And I tested some of these things that I know are safe. I test them on myself in large amounts. I was yawning, talking to a lady who was very comfortable with me. She said, "Namat, stop that. You're a disgrace to your business. Go take something." So I chuckled. I said, "Okay." So I went upstairs to my office. I had a bottle of ginseng that was extract in a paste. You use a little tiny stir stick to get a little bit out, and you take it. So your dose would have been what would sit at the tip of a stir stick. I took a slice of rye bread. Back then I used to eat bread. I took a slice of rye bread, and I covered it with ginseng paste. And then I put a little bit of honey on it for flavor, and I ate this thing. I got so much energy. I was cracking jokes, and this woman, we were talking within about 15 minutes. She said, "What are you on? Now you're downright silly." So I told her what it was. She immediately bought it for her son, who was lethargic all the time. So it was one of those things that I know it really works. The ginseng, I know what it tastes like. I know that it can work really fast. And I did the math. How much I'd taken was like 4 days worth of ginseng in that shot, just enough to cover my bread. That's how much it was. I've tested myself with vitamin C, large amount of vitamin C. I had huge bug reactions to black flies, and within hours, they completely disappeared. So I went and I talked with somebody, a naturopath, and they said, "Yeah, it makes sense." I said, "Why?" They said, "Well, a large amount of vitamin C acts like an antihistamine in your body, but it doesn't have the side effects. It just triggers your body to deal with whatever is, causing you to react, and it just disappears." So I didn't know that. I just took it and it disappeared. I also have taken large amount of vitamin C. We're talking about 15,000 milligrams in one shot when I was sick with the flu. And my body totally handled it. And a lot of my symptoms disappeared very quickly. But I took that same amount when I wasn't sick, and it left my body really fast. So that tells me that your body will use it if it needs it, rejects it if it doesn't. So, but I don't recommend doing that on a regular basis, because you can acidify your body. The vitamin C that you get is generally very acidic. So there are things that you can do. You can buffer your vitamin C with the trace minerals. So if you took your vitamin C crystals, put it in water, put your trace minerals in it, the minerals will buffer the acidity. The vitamin C creates an environment where the minerals absorb really well into your body. So it's a very good mix to have. That's why a lot of people take vegetables and seaweeds that are really high in minerals. They take them with something acidic. Culturally, if you look back through history, especially the Japanese, the Persians, they take their spinach, their broccoli, their cabbage, seaweeds, all of these things, they usually take them with some kind of an acidic food, either lemons, limes, or vinegar. So,
Have you read much in your research about vitamin C as it relates to cancer treatment?
well, Dr. Linus Pauling did a lot of work on vitamin C and cancer. And during his lifetime, I think people had gone as high as 20,000 milligrams of vitamin C during cancer treatment. And then other people pushed themselves beyond that. Your body will reject it if you take too much of it, usually in the form of loose stool or diarrhea. You just leaves your body. But if they take it in divided doses, generally vitamin C can only stay in your body for about 2 hours. So if you take it in divided doses throughout the day, and you build it up over time, people who have a very serious condition where the body needs all of that, they have been able to go as high as, I think, 40 or 50,000 milligrams a day. And I think if you go on the internet, you may find people who have done more. But well, you really need to know what you're doing, and it's not the kind of thing that I would feel comfortable recommending to anybody. But vitamin C and other antioxidants, they have the ability to protect your tissue from falling apart. People who take a lot of antioxidants, their skin is always more resistant. Their collagen, their formation is higher. So basically, they're firmer, younger looking, and less pervious to disease. For example, the flu virus will dissolve your connective tissue, and when it does that in the lungs, it allows water to collect in the lungs, and that leads to pneumonia. The flu itself may not be the one that killed you. In the case of the Spanish flu, they said it wasn't the flu that killed them; it was pneumonia afterwards. So the same. But if your immune system is strong enough to resist the virus, so that would be basically if your cell walls are strong enough, they can actually resist the damage or the attack of the virus, in which case then you'll not fall prey to the pneumonia afterwards. But with the flu coming up, there's going to be a lot of, yeah. So yeah.
So did you get a flu shot?
No,
I don't even.
never. No, my flu shot is oil of oregano, vitamin D, with those two things, and I have a very strong extract of echinacea with astragalus, and it's called antiviral formula. I keep these in the house all the time. And colloidal silver, for people who don't want to taste stuff, you can take colloidal silver. It works amazing as a topical, for ear infections. You can spray it in your mouth. You've heard the phrase, he's born with a silver spoon in his mouth. Apparently it had to do with little bits of silver going into the food, kept people from getting sick.
I work in silver, in the silversmith, so maybe that helps.
Yeah,
Just through osmosis.
it probably does. It probably, well, I wouldn't,
You got good complexion. Good
Oh, do I?
Yeah. As long as there is no lead in your work.
No,
No.
I don't think. Maybe in some of the solders.
Okay. Yeah, you would have to detoxify yourself from the lead if you think you are exposed to that, but otherwise the silver may actually be helping you, yeah.
So it's not something you put like a toothpick in your mouth or something?
With silver?
Yeah, just to hang it.
I don't know,
like a little-
but you can actually get colloidal silver. It tastes like water, it looks like water, and you can just take a teaspoon to a tablespoon when you need it, and it is very. It has a very short life in your system. The moment it comes in contact with biological matter, the silver becomes neutralized, and the biological matter dies as a result of the silver disabling these microorganisms from breeding. It kills
It
them.
was used as a topical antibiotic.
Yeah, yeah. It's I have colloidal silver. Lots of good stories with that. Yeah, you don't need. I think the flu is a very simple thing for most people, as long as you do the right things and you keep your body strong. And for example, oil of oregano, you take it right at the beginning, a few drops under the tongue. It'll burn the back of your throat for about a minute. You lose your voice. And then
Oil of oregano.
oil of oregano, yeah. It's very potent, very strong. But my daughter had an infection. Our doctor said, well, I know you guys don't like drugs. Here's a prescription just in case whatever your magic is doesn't work. And so we put my daughter on oil of oregano. The infection disappeared. Never had to buy the drug. The same thing with the ear infection in another daughter. A drop in her ear. It was diagnosed as ear infection. The doctor actually said it was infected. One drop of oil of oregano, and it was gone. One drop.
So is there shelf life for some of these? Like, do they-
Oil of oregano, no, not really, no.
Okay, great.
And oregano, oil of oregano, yeah, because oil of oregano is so, protective that, like it protects anything else it comes in contact with. But it is usually in a base of olive oil, so the olive oil might give it a shelf life, but not the oregano. The colloidal silver has, indefinite. And echinacea, again, they're in an alcohol extract, generally, years. They have to put a date on it, but generally years, yeah.
Because I know that they can be quite expensive.
Yeah. Oregano can be, a bottle this big can be around $20, but you need very little. Yeah. I've talked about everything, but I don't know, like I said, I didn't focus in on pancreatic cancer, but
What about
Yeah.
fatigue?
about fatigue.
Yeah.
Fatigue. There is a number of different reasons for fatigue. So you'd have to rule out what is causing your fatigue. Is it lack of sleep? Or is it your diet? Generally, most things that cause mental fog is from the gut, from poor digestion or something you're eating that is causing that to happen. So either a yeast infection or sluggish digestion of certain foods or something that you really love that's causing the problem. Often. But once your body is clear and you have lived a clean sort of life, then what you love is actually good for you. What you crave is good for you. But when people don't know what to eat and they're exposed to a lot of unhealthy food, what you crave is usually what you're allergic to. I would look at those things first. So look at dietary things. Try to keep a diary of what you ate and when you felt the fatigue, and see if you can find a path backwards to what is causing it. That's usually you're the best person for your body. Usually you need to know that. And if you keep that diary, and when you go to see a doctor and you give that information, the doctors will really love you for it, because you've given them, it's sort of taken a lot of guesswork out, and you're giving them, something that they can use. So, and a lot of times then you can figure it out and you say, oh, it all boils down to when I eat that sausage, I get a rash on my skin. So you can actually get down that specific. And so you do that. People go with caffeine for fatigue. That's just like a Band-Aid solution, but chlorophyll will really give you a lot of energy. So if you switch to a green smoothie that you make with, say, frozen berries at this time of the year, and a tablespoon of spirulina in there, that will give you a lot of energy. In March, I'll be fasting, and every morning, and for 19 days, I will be surviving on one tall glass of smoothie, green smoothie, for 19 days. Every morning, I'll just have this one glass of smoothie in the morning, and that'll keep me going for 12 hours.
Why can you do that?
I do this every year. It's a religious fast that I do. But over the years, I have tried all kinds of stuff, trying to see what would make the day go better. Mm-hmm. And I found that taking the smoothie enables me to function. I'm able to talk as clear as I am right now, right? Until 5 or 6 p.m. I can continue talking with customers. I can be engaged in this kind of an exchange with no water since 6 a.m., no food since 6 a.m. All I had was that smoothie. So it is. So I can really tell you from personal experience that there is a ton of energy that you can get from a well-prepared smoothie. I put 1 banana in it, about 4 or 5 large frozen strawberries in it, a tablespoon of spirulina, and I have a little mix of few other things like chia seeds that I have soaked overnight, and maybe a little bit of flax meal, but I don't usually use the flax meal because I find it dehydrates me. The chia seeds, if they're not soaked overnight, it will dehydrate you. So a few things like that to give me energy, and I put a few other concoctions in there, but they're all herbal things, and all of them designed to give me energy and keep me operating without
So what do you put for the liquid
For liquid, I use water.
in the smoothie?
Yeah, I use water. You really don't need, I find,
Not milk or ice cream or anything?
if the kids are up,
Oh, okay.
I might put, I will put, they actually, thankfully, they like yogurt. So we just put yogurt in. But I find if I'm fasting, I don't take any animal ingredients because of bad breath and so on. So I don't take that. So yogurt, I love yogurt, but I don't take yogurt during the fast. I just go with water and vegetable source proteins and, the hemp seed oil. Oh yeah, hemp seed oil is
Do
in
you
there.
lose weight during that 19 days?
No, it's not really maybe my gut gets a little bit slimmer, but it's not really a weight loss thing. Yeah. It's just one of those things where you find yourself becoming more and more sharp. You become much more focused during that time.
So what's the volume of this smoothie?
I have I think it's a 16 or 18 ounce glass that is filled when I make it. And then I wash the glass and the blender with water, and I drink that. So by the time I'm done, I'd say it's probably about 1.5 liters of liquid that I've taken. But the actual smoothie is that one glass. Yeah.
Do you share it with anybody?
Pardon me? No, nobody's awake at that time in the morning.
I see, so you do it early in the morning.
Yeah. I do it early in the morning and then no food or drink until sunset. And then at sunset, I usually break my fast with a warm drink, usually tea. And then I sort of allow food. But, after a few days, your stomach starts to shrink. You can't eat much anyway. So the evenings, the first few days, you really hoard. But then after that, you can't eat because you're, over time, you just can't put that much food in your belly after a few days. So, so towards the end, you get, at 5 o'clock, your fingers are all cold. You start losing circulation, but it's fun.
Is there any books that you recommend, or one book that you would?
There is a book that is really easy to read, easy to get information on because of the way it's organized. It's by Balch, it's B-A-L-C-H, and the name of it is Prescription for Nutritional Healing. It's about this thick. It's like the size of a little bigger than a full sheet of paper, but it's this thick. It's really well written. Every disease is in there in alphabetical order, and then it tells you the description of the ailment and what you need in terms of nutrients organized in essential, very important, and helpful, and then herbal stuff and diet guidance, all under every ailment. It's a very good book. It's a easy, fast reference. You sort of say, okay, I got, for example, arthritis or, whatever issue. You just look it up. You find it fast. You read up on it, and it has a very concise way of guiding you to the right things. And then you can find more in-depth information on a lot of the nutrients at the beginning of the book are listed alphabetically as well. Like all the amino acids are listed, all the vitamins are listed, and what they do, and the minerals and the importance of each mineral. It's all listed at the beginning, and then it goes by disease after that. So it's a good book.
What do you think of the gluten-free movement?
I know that there are certain people who really cannot handle gluten, and they really bloat up. They really disables them. And then there are people who use it as a lifestyle choice. The foods that are there labeled gluten-free can be junk food. So you have to be very careful. Be a label reader. Be very detective-like. If you don't understand what that ingredient is, try to figure it out before you buy it. Because sometimes they use the cheapest sources of carbohydrates that are culprits in diseases like diabetes. But they put them all together. As long as they don't put gluten, this becomes gluten-free. Just because it's gluten-free doesn't mean it's healthy. So candy is gluten-free, right? So some of these breads and some of these crackers, I find that they loaded with either sodium or a lot of cheap starch.
All this stuff.
Yeah. So just be careful. Yeah. It is, yeah. I mean, there are people who are allergic to it. They have to have something. So, yeah. So they need to be careful. But there's like anything else. Soon as there's a demand for it, everybody's out there trying to make a buck. So, yeah. I don't know. Are you guys label readers?
We are now.
Well, a little bit.
I
am.
Half the time it's trying to figure out what the label
Yeah.
is trying to say.
Yeah.
You know, it's interpreting the words.
Yeah.
I mean, traditionally, I guess the largest ingredient is usually the first one on the top.
Yes.
Yeah, and then it degrades from there.
That's right, yeah. Yeah, those are, I'm on camera, I don't want to badmouth any particular brand name, but you will find people who use, a particular color and say this color menu, and then people assume that because the packaging is that color, that it's healthy. So they bring that home and they say, oh, it's granola and it's from the, X color menu. And I say, yes, but did you turn around and look at the side? And you start to read it. It's sugar A, sugar B, sugar C for the main ingredient, and then the coating, sugar A, sugar B, sugar C, and this chemical, this chemical. And so it's all there, but what qualifies it as a health food, I don't know. But they're horrible.
The packaging.
The packaging, that's right. Just because they put the word light or low fat or omega-3, high fiber, this is garbage. Your ingredients should be recognizable, and you shouldn't have more than a handful tops. So we sell a particular hot chocolate that we use in the cafe for hot chocolate drinks, and it's got like 4 ingredients. It's got cocoa, it's got dehydrated cane juice, it's got lecithin, which is from soy, which as an emulsifier, and I believe there is maybe a salt or something like that. That's it. Now you go and find the Carnation brand hot chocolate.
Oh, that's like full of sugar.
Yeah, and I don't know if there's even cocoa in there.
The color's
Yeah.
not the same.
That's right. So, or you get, the traditional hot cocoa that I grew up with, I don't know if you guys grew up with that or not, was you put cocoa in a cup and you put a little bit of sugar in it and you mix the two together while the milk is warming and you pour the milk over that. That's hot chocolate. But not this, I don't know what that is. So read labels and it'll become very disheartening at first, but then you will start to completely avoid certain aisles in the grocery store. There are certain aisles that I just don't go down on. I have nothing to do with these aisles. Because I've been through that aisle, I know what's in those packages. Now it's not a part of my life. I know I go here and I go here and I'm out.
You can skip the potato chip aisle,
Oh,
popcorn.
Seeds and nuts.
yeah. Seeds and nuts. I think we were these teeth. The people. Some people say they were supposedly canine. They are not canine because they're not sharp enough to cut meat, but they are, however, strong enough and just the right size to crack nuts. So our ancestors at some point used these for going through hard shells, and we are basically supposed to live on nuts, seeds, and berries. Those are what we grew up on. Everything else is, sort of what we added over time with agriculture and so on. But our primary food for millions of years would have been what we gathered, and what we gathered would have been nuts and seeds and fruits and berries. Yeah.
Maybe some insects too.
Maybe insects,
Yes,
yeah.
crickets.
Yeah. I'm sure, yeah. And there would have been some hunting, but can you imagine how much running they had to do to get, some meat? We don't run and we have that meat on the table, right? So our ancestors, yeah,
In good shape.
yeah,
Grasshoppers and.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So there's a lot of philosophies about that and blood types and all of that stuff. So it's well worth reading. And education is your biggest weapon. Read, read, read. And test it on yourself. You know, clean up and then introduce certain foods and see how it makes you feel. Yeah. You were going to say something.
I think I'm testing it on your friends.
No, my thoughts
No.
gone, it
Oh,
was getting into when you learn fast. I'm a little foggy, must be what I use.
That's right. There was a lady who came here. Her name was Dr. Koch, Carolee with no N at the end, Bateson Koch. And the book that she had written was Allergies, Disease in Disguise. This thing was, you know, a thin book and very simple. And she basically boiled down most problems from headaches to allergies, to skin problems, to, you know, being snappy at people, all of those things, to stuff in your gut. And a lot of people, you know, were following it, and we saw a lot of people really heal because of that. We had a lot of clients or customers from Camp Hill, the nurses who were environmentally sick because of the building. And for years they were denied, you know, validation. They were told, no, this is all in your head, it's all in your head. And in the meantime, we could see how sick these people were. They couldn't talk straight, they couldn't, their skin was, you know, translucent. You could see all the veins under their skin. And we also saw how they healed. And, you know, a lot of them was just going through that, the guidance in that book. They healed, they detoxified, and they cut out offending foods and replaced it with foods that sort of nourished without the ill effects, and they came back to life. One of them, a nurse that I didn't know she was a nurse, and the way that she talked, you would have thought she was, you know, somebody who had grown up with mental defects from, you know, for a long time. Then one day, you know, I went to help her, and I said, "Oh, would you like me to give you a list of the stuff that you bought last time you were here, so I can tell you what you need?" She said, "No, I know exactly what I need." I looked at her, you know, really, she says, "Yep." She said, "The fog is gone. I can't think." She said, "Do you know who I am?" I said, "Tell me." So that's when she told me that she was a nurse, that she, you know, was in charge of a whole department. She said, "You knew me as somebody who, you know, like you thought I probably had no education. You probably thought I was, you know, had a ill-functioning brain." I said, "Yes." But she's fine now. But it took her like 6 or 7 years to recover from that, yeah. So, yeah. This other lady, I saw her, she looked like the poster child for, you know, nature. And so I went to sort of greet her and say, "Hi, can I help you?" And she smiled at me, you know, like she recognized me. And then I looked at her. She said, you know, who she was, and I just couldn't believe my eyes because she had transformed. I hadn't seen her for 6 months, and within that 6-month period, she had totally changed from somebody that whenever I looked at her, I thought if I touched her skin, it would break. She was a nurse also from Camp Hill, and her skin was completely healed. Her hair had life. Before that, her hair looked like a straw man, you know. So we've seen a lot of things that a lot of people who have healed themselves. We've seen incurable diseases disappear on people. There's an old man, at the time he was 86 years old, 2 years of rosacea. Rosacea apparently has no cure. And 2 years of antibiotics and all kinds, no cure. And then suddenly he came in, and I said, "You look different." He said, "Yeah, my rosacea is gone." And my rosacea is it makes you look like a drunk, you know, red nose and stuff. Yeah, and he had new skin growing. And I asked him, "What did he do?" He said, "Oil of oregano." I said, "Oil of oregano, you put that on?" He said, "No, under the tongue." I said, "You put oil of oregano under the tongue and your rosacea went away?" He said, "Yes, with impatience." I said, "How did you figure that?" He said, "That book you sold me." It's called The Cure is in the Cupboard. So he had read that. There was a section that told him to do this. He did it. 1 month. 1 month. And it was gone. And 7 years later, I still saw him at the age of like 92. He's still clear. No rosacea. Never came back. I said, are you still taking it? He said, I take 1 drop a day now. So he was just to make sure, yeah. That someday I have to put all of these stories together into a book because they're all local, they're all Halifax people who have done stuff, and basically got rid of, I can't say cured, but got rid of diseases that should have no treatment. There is no cure for diseases, but these people did it for themselves, and we've seen it. Yeah. Yeah. But what we're seeing right now, I think that it may have to do with the fact that the baby boomers are going to be in need of more and more sort of things for their health, whatever those things are, whether they're natural or not. There is this major push to discredit natural therapies. The discrediting is done in a very transparent, the only way I can say it is in a very childish way. So you would hear on CBC, for example, on Maritime Noon, and I don't mind mentioning this because I've contacted Maritime Noon and they have ignored me about this. They bring these people, the way that they promote the program is this person is going to come and tell you, answer all your questions about natural treatments, whether it be the cold and flu season or whatever. So they bill it as, I'm going to ask this person, how do I take my echinacea? Or I'm going to ask this person about, how to deal with my aching knees without drugs. So the person starts talking and they start talking as if they know. And you say, okay, good, this person is in favor of natural therapies. Then with 1 or 2 very dismissive statements, they poo-poo anything to do with natural therapies. So, and then when you listen to it with my ear, you see how unscientific this person is. And this person is either a professor at McGill, who's traveling around, he's a doctor and he's a professor and he's, supposedly answering your questions, but he's not saying anything scientifically valid. What he's saying, for example, with echinacea, he said, to an answer to a question. He said, echinacea, the natives used echinacea for a long time. I thought, okay, good, so he likes echinacea. And so this has a long history of use among the natives. They would build a fire, they would put echinacea in the fire, and they would stand around and inhale the smoke. I have never, ever heard anybody say that the natives used echinacea this way, except from this guy. Echinacea by the natives was always used as a tea. They never smoked. I mean, if they smoked it, maybe they were smoking something else at the same time to be, it doesn't make sense. Then he said, you can take it, but really, it doesn't really have any effect. You have to take so much for it to have any effect. You know what? You might as well be throwing your money down the drain because it is just a waste of money. So he starts off by giving a history, then it's wrong history, and then he says it's a waste of money because it is absolutely ineffective. Less than a minute later, to the question of what about people who have autoimmune disorders? Can they be taking echinacea? Oh, no, you cannot take echinacea because of the way that it behaves on strengthening your immune system. You cannot take echinacea. Am I the only person who heard that? Normally McLeod, who was interviewing him, didn't stop. Now, she is a journalist trained to catch statements like that. She didn't catch him. I called her. She didn't call me back. I sent her an email. She didn't respond to me. I posted on her Facebook. Didn't hear anything back. And she has continued to do this. She's brought 3 more people after that. And they all have the agenda of discrediting natural therapies, and extremely unscientifically.
Why?
I think it is because there is a huge amount of money to be made. And if, for example, the largest segment of the population, the baby boomers, are all going to start developing either hip problems or knee problems or cold and flu or whatever, and if being also these baby boomers they have a history of, being back to the land, being natural and trying to do things, the way that it was good for the environment and so on. So they have that history with them, and they take that history into treating themselves naturally. How are the people who want to make money off of
The pharmaceutical.
the pharmaceutical, how are they going to make money off of you if you're going to treat yourself?